Hello, it's the CyberDudes podcast again for episode 14 and your news up to the 11th of November 2024. I am, as always, Robin Thornton, and with me is still Omar Sengarima. How are you doing, Omar?
Still here. Yes.
Still here. I'm still here as well, but tired. Trying to do some gardening, and it's not. Just not been going.
Is that a British thing? Y'all still garden in like November?
Well, no, it's more like tidying up, really,
Okay.
and breaking down stuff that got put in the compost that wasn't beforehand.
Gotcha.
Yeah, not me.
Practice your karate.
I do have. So I have a shovel called a root slayer, and it's got like it's like a sort of cone, a truncated cone with like serrated edges. I swear to God, that thing does slay roots. It goes through them like butter.
It sounds like something you pick up in Diablo.
It's absolutely,
right? You pick up the root slayer.
It is absolutely vicious. It goes through bamboo rhizomes very, very nicely. And so those things are tough.
Defense against assault is what it also sounds like, right? Don't come at me, I got my root slayer.
Oh God! Right, let's move on. Let's stop talking about the yard work. Okay.
Crypto is skyrocketing right now, and along with it, surely will be crypto-related scams. Make sure you don't get drawn in by fraudsters by using a trusted and reputable crypto exchange. Right now, CyberDudes listeners can get $10 of Bitcoin absolutely free when they make their first trade on Coinbase. Coinbase is built to make crypto simple. With a straightforward interface, buying, selling, and tracking your assets takes only a few taps. For peace of mind, security is top-notch, including end-to-end encryption. And as you explore crypto, Coinbase is packed with tools to help you learn and grow, like in-app tutorials, real-time insights, and portfolio analysis. Plus, they're fully regulated and publicly traded, so transparency and trust are built into every feature. So get yourself $10 of Bitcoin now by signing up using the referral link in the show notes. And in doing so, you'll be helping support what we do here at the CyberDudes pod.
Always, we will get into the news, and we start with a piece from InfoSecurity magazine, which is Nigerian handed 26-year sentence for real estate phishing scam. Bit of a problem. Basically, this comes down to what's called a man-in-the-middle attack and the interception of email, effectively tricking people into wiring their house deposit money to entirely the wrong place, which is obviously typically in the sums of tens or hundreds of thousands, or sometimes millions of dollars, and it's a real big issue. I've wanted to do an episode on this for quite a while now, so we will see where that lands. Maybe in the next few episodes or so. But it is a big issue because I don't think realtors are all that cyber savvy.
No,
and I'll say that from my recentish experience with ours when we bought our house.
Agreed.
Yeah. Recorded future: Moldova elects pro-West president Maya Sandu despite Russian interference. I think this is a bit of a win for the good guys on this one. It's whenever you have Russia interfering in your elections, as we've found out very recently, things can get a little bit fractious. So good job that Maya Sandu was able to resist all of that nonsense going on there. And a piece from Bleeping Computer here: Germany drafts law to protect researchers who find security flaws. Good news, really, because even if you are doing the hacking with good intent, you do somewhat flirt with a fine line between Good Samaritan and criminal activity, don't you, Omar?
It's such a big topic these days, especially like you mentioned with the election. And where like money goes and where it comes from, soft money, dark money. I love that line, right? Where scamminess versus good Samaritan activity. It's a fine line between love and hate, etc., etc. spot on.
I mean, it really is as well, and particularly when it's you find a vulnerability in the system of somebody who feels as though they've been caught with their pants down and wants retribution out of a sense of having felt embarrassed. That's a real problem.
And there was a recent, I know more closer to home, there's a town in Ohio that straight up sued a researcher for decrying. Yeah, the town mayor or supervisor, whoever the fuck, said, yeah, this town is fine, we're cyber safe. And somebody, I think, in my opinion, I know I'm biased and I'm always going to think, you know, the researcher was trying the right thing as long as they meet certain criteria. This one did.
Yeah.
Put up his hand and said, actually, maybe not. And I think tried to reach out through proper channels to the government and help them out. You're going to get basically a free security assessment off of somebody who looks like they knew what they were doing. But instead of saying thank you and bringing them into the fold and helping out, they said, GFY, we're going to sue you, or we're going to put a bounty on your head. Essentially, we're going to call you a criminal. It's not the way you should play these games, and I'm glad to see that this is changing, at least in some arenas worldwide.
Well, if you want to play good games, unlike the people who've been, I don't really know where I was going with this segue. What I wanted to do was do something very sort of smooth and witty. If you're enjoying this, give us a like. If you're watching this on YouTube, give us a like.
Okay.
Throw some comments in about, you know, whatever you might have an opinion on about what we've talked about so far, or what we will talk about later on. Give us a subscribe as well. We really enjoy building the little community that we have got here. If you're on Spotify, give us a rate, follow the pod, and make sure that we keep on having this go.
I would never let my sons have a debit card. That's from Frank Abagnale, the real-life subject of Catch Me If You Can, and one of the world's most respected fraud experts. He's seen firsthand the risks that debit cards carry, because unlike credit cards, debit cards pull directly from your bank account. With a credit card, it's not your money being spent up front, so any fraud stays between the credit card company and the vendor, not your bank balance. And if something goes wrong, the credit card company steps in to resolve it quickly. Right now, we're partnered with Amex, Discover, and Capital One to offer referral links in the show notes. Each card comes with its own sign-up bonus, and many include free credit monitoring and reporting perks, giving you both purchasing power and peace of mind. Just remember, credit cards are a tool. They offer protection, but spending responsibly is what keeps them in your favor. Signing up through these links helps support the podcast too, so you're making a difference for both your finances and the show.
Well, what is your spotlight story for us this week?
Spotlight story, I feel like you did a head nod towards something similar prior. You always have your thumb on the bleeding pulse of scammery. Yeah. You do. I'm telling you. Sometimes, like you mentioned with the mortgage stuff, that you actually turned me on to. It made sense once you told me what the pretense was, but it's one of those things that I hadn't quite made the leap myself, going, oh, this could happen here. Of course it can. Anytime there's money exchange and there's internet involved, potentially, there's room for fuckery. But so I really do, kind of, I could easily say I get my news from Robin Thornton. But for here, it's a follow-up at least on kind of a bit more of a sophisticated scam. So DocuSign is one of those tools. A lot of enterprises use it, small businesses, medium businesses, larger outfits. It's trusted. Adobe has the same sort of deal. Signing documents in the age of the internet has always been something that if you figure it out, you're going to make some money, you're going to create some decent workflows. And DocuSign has. I'm not out here saying that they haven't, same with Adobe. But just because a tool is safe and secure and it's okay in your environment and hey, I recognize this DocuSign, still double check for some contextual clues. And here's why. Because of course, why not? Why wouldn't it happen? Nefarious actors figured out a way to abuse the APIs and so what they did was they set up legitimate DocuSign accounts. They sent out seemingly at first snuff, legitimate DocuSign invoices, would get them signed by people at target environments or target companies, and then would take those
Oh, I thought
legitimately
you were talking about
signed.
Target.
Yeah, hey,
Just specifically at Target.
Oh goodness. I mean, it might be time to take out the piñata again. I don't know. It's been long enough, and they probably have done some dumb shit over the last couple of years. No, I know good friends at Target. They have great security researchers. They're trying.
Did I ever tell you about the dumb shit that they did whereby it's oh god,
the selling to a young lady, that's the classic story. And outing that she was pregnant to
that one. Oh yeah. Oh,
yeah.
that was years ago. That's one of Will's favorites. No, it's very much more of a basic dumb shit. This was several months ago. I just wanted shower gel, right? And the one that I always get was locked behind a friggin' thing with no staff in sight on the next bit of shelves.
Right next to the baby formula, because they lock that stuff now too. I'll tell you.
Diddy's in a detention center. They don't need to lock it up. Anyway.
No. Oh God. Try as he might with 7 attempts at bail later. Nah, bro, you're staying put, my friend. Yeah, that's good.
What are you in for this time? Stealing the baby.
Stealing baby. But he's knocking off trucks like he's in The Sopranos, because apparently that's how he buys that shit. Oh God.
It was all so weird. No, anyway, no, it was okay. The shower gel I wanted, locked behind a frigging cabinet, no staff in sight. On the next set of shelves over, something that comes in smaller amounts at a higher price is not locked away, so it's higher cost per unit product. Sure. And I'm like, this is the fucking stupidest thing in the world. Why can I not who steals shower gel? This is
you'd be surprised.
This is just
we just talked about.
But my point being that actually, if stuff is going to be getting stolen to a degree that, and whoever the hell works in loss prevention or whatever the hell it is at Target can correct me if I've got this totally wrong, but I'm sure it's just this
please come on the podcast.
Bullshit.
We'll interview you. Yeah, I want to hear about this.
I'm sure it's just a load of performative bullshit to make it seem as though basically don't steal because we have controls that are around this and all of that sort of stuff, where in actual fact probably the majority of the theft that they, or what do you call it when stuff just kind of goes missing? Shrinkage or whatever it is, the majority of that is going to be somebody in the loading bay taking a pallet and putting it aside somewhere where somebody doesn't know. It's not getting stolen off the shelves. It's the people that work for you are stealing that shit.
I mean, I don't want to go into specifics here, but I have heard of that close to home. So yeah, it's stuff can happen pretty much everywhere. But that does remind me of the concept of where you can tie a horse to a lawn chair, right? And the horse will just stay put. But in reality, you can just get around, right? If the horse wanted to move, it's all like you said, it's performative, it's theatrical. Maybe it changes. Maybe that's just the bin that they stick stuff in periodically when they get reports from the home office. Who knows here? Yeah.
Anyway, back to DocuSign.
So DocuSign, right? So it sets up. So the bad actors set up legitimate DocuSign accounts. Then they send spurious invoices, things needing signature. Mm-hmm. And it's the added step here that I wanted to highlight, because I think that raises the level of sophistication. They don't just straight send a spuriously signed by Joe Schmo invoice to the billing office. They take the extra step of sending a legitimate looking invoice to get officially signed by somebody at the target entity. So you have somebody who would have signing authority putting their digital John Hancock or Jane Hancock on this now very official looking yet still spurious invoice, and then they send it to the accounts payable office of the target entity. And at least on first blush, and also digitally, forensically, the first layer, it looks like a legitimate, because it is legitimately signed under bad pretenses, because it is a bullshit invoice to begin with, but it's legitimately signed by somebody in the organization. The accounts payable office sees this and goes, oh, that looks pretty legit. And even digitally, like I said, that first layer of the onion, oh, this looks legit because it matches up with our signing protocols here. and then they milk the target entity for drips and drabs of cash that pile into a big sack of dough. This, and what gets me about this story too, that multiple sources made the extra effort of shouting this out. So I think this is something that's more of a problem than they can say, at least at first blush, is the scale of how this is going out is a little staggering. It was, even as they were investigating it, different sources were saying that like this is ongoing, right? So it's something that you can spin up, you can scale. It's very low cost of entry for the scammer to try.
Yeah.
And because of that extra layer of bringing in the legitimate signature of duping that initial target at the entity that you're trying to scam, you can pump these targets for a lot of cash over time. And it sucks because your normal defenses, that defense in depth that we always preach, isn't going to stop it. Your email, it's not, because it's technically not a malicious anything.
No.
It is a DocuSign invoice. And if DocuSign is something that if the scammer does a hair bit of research up front and finds out that the entity in question uses DocuSign to begin with, you're off to the races, my friend.
And even then, there's only a certain number of like guys who actually do this. You've got DocuSign, you've got VeriSign, you've got Adobe, and that's kind of really the big players. You're probably if you send all three of those, like you're probably gonna get a hit with a lot of
or two. There's places that use multiple.
Yes,
right?
Yes, we know that.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like, I kind of feel like the bigger failing here is knowing what you're paying for. I mean, I had a email the other day that was like, "Hey, did we receive this stuff? Can I pay it?" And I was like, "Yep, good, it works." Like, I mean, that's rather than just paying it blindly for services that you don't know whether were rendered or not. So I guess dependent on the scale of the organization, it may not even be worth your time. I remember there was a Romanian or Bulgarian guy did this with Google about 10 years ago. And he managed to skin him out of about $1 million or something like that.
Yeah.
He had to do some work up front because he had to get himself being a verified kind of a trusted
partner.
entity. Yeah. But yeah, he milked it for about $1 million, and it's because everything was below a certain like checks and balances threshold. Because it was a matter of even if it isn't legit or it is a mistake or something like that, it's small change to Google because we earn bajillions of dollars a year. I mean, this is a problem as well in terms of using the legitimate platforms because, as you say, it bypasses the spam filters. Exactly the same things are being done with the likes of Square and PayPal, and it does irritate me because realistically speaking, these companies have enough money that they should be able to implement the kind of technology that catches this stuff basically like as it's being done. If you're sending phony invoices, if you've got an account that's been sending out invoices and it's a call us at this number if you have any problems kind of thing, it's like
no.
And
that is, it's very that's, you hit on one of the reasons why I did choose this, because it weaves sophistication on the digital end, but also an analog bit of insulation against prevention, as you mentioned. It takes that extra step, right? The API sync up because it is a legitimate DocuSign endpoint.
Yeah.
So even if you're one of those great organizations that's blessed with a security team that cares about API security, which is still relatively new. It's kind of on the nice to have list for a lot of organizations at this stage still, the way cloud was maybe 5-10 years ago. But even if you have that, this would check out at first glance because it's a legitimate API endpoint from DocuSign sending what looks like, again, actual approvable traffic. It's not like, oh, wait a second, you have, hi, I'm a scamming API.com trying to just hit you with something that looks like a DocuSign or a VeriSign or an Adobe. then what are you going to do? You have to take the extra step of investigating, like you said, calling that number, checking it out, looking up that number, checking it out, seeing what the email is and checking it out. There's ways to do that, but those extra steps are things that the scammers will bank on don't happen at scale, and they're able to spread this type of attack, get some money. When they start seeing that it's not making that much cash, then just set up shop and target somebody else.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think this stresses the point of, with them leveraging somebody else's credibility and reputation. Yep.
Good call.
To me, this just stresses the point of the sorts of ways that you can protect yourself from malicious cyber acts aren't just cyber based. They're actually just a matter of good financial process.
Yep.
Good systems. Finance governance.
Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely. That's the way. Processes and systems that will tell you, hey, we didn't order the pork chops. So why pay for it?
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. My spotlight here, and I'm going to make this a shorter one because we have kind of flogged this horse to death whilst it's been tied to the plastic chair in the middle of the field.
It's my middle name. That Omar agreement.
This is from Recorded Future. This was 4th of November, posted in final check-in before election day. CISA cites low-level threats and not much else. And so opens with, despite small-scale incidents during the country's early voting period and an uptick in online disinformation, the leader of the US Cybersecurity Agency believes election systems remain secure for Tuesday. And that seems to be largely the way that everybody has perceived it. Now, I imagine there would have been much more uproar about the potential security of the entire system had it gone a different way than it did. But because the main complainants around election security got what they wanted, it was all fair and free, and nothing really went wrong. So that is that. But I think the reason I brought this up was along the lines of, we have discussed this before in terms of the integrity of the actual process itself when it comes down to the checks and the balances that go on. You saw in, I forget which state it was, I think it was in Pennsylvania, very early on, about 7 p.m. on election night. They stated that they had a problem with about 12 or 13 of the machines running something wrong, or it was like there was the door that the room that they were in, there was a door that wasn't locked, so they couldn't guarantee that those machines hadn't been tampered with during the counting process. So they said, right, well, do you know what, we're going to run them all back through again, making sure that that door was locked and everybody who should have been in there was accounted for. And so, so that was that. And that was basically your point. There's too many touch points in here and too many places that it gets checked, and no specific internet connectivity to any of the machines that were doing counting and all of that sort of stuff on the night. But that's not where you really target it. If you have had 6-8 months, screw it, a year, 2, 4 years, 6 years, 8 years to mess around with public opinion through the use of social media. And that's kind of, unfortunately, what has been proven to have been happening. And it's not just one way, or it's not just for one side or the other. There's the disinformation that favors the left side of the political fence in this country comes from Iran. Disinformation that favors the right hand side of this country, and probably actually China as well. Disinformation that favors the right side of this country coming from the likes of Russia, and I would hazard probably within the country as well. But that's just the way that goes. But the key point there being, ultimately, if you've got that much time to tinker with popular opinion. You don't actually need to mess around with it on the night.
Or if you're able to hack into back doors that the telecom companies build in out of ridiculousness, then you don't really need to mess with an election. You can just listen in on everything that's going on telecom wise. I'm here and I'm thinking about Salt Typhoon here and how that's a bigger story, I feel, that's going to carry into the next presidency, because that hack is bigger, I think, than we even know about. So this is not us saying that all is well on the cyber warfare, hybrid warfare front, but just that, thank goodness, there's an election that went by. And I agree, I think there was less squawking because of how it went. But overall, the integrity of the process is more solid than not. There's always room to improve, and I will have great reservations if suddenly we start rolling out bigger pilots of mobile voting or e-voting. That's a whole different can of corn. And even as a digital forward-facing person, you as a technologist as well, we're all for lots of innovations. That's one that I think terrifies both of us. So we're not going that crazy. We're saying, at least as it is now, it's analog enough to insulate it again from any particular needle-moving nefariousness. I think you brought up Jen Easterly. CISA did say there will be pockets of bullshit.
Yeah.
And there were.
Yeah.
Jen, I swear, like, I hope we don't find out anything bad about her, because she keeps, saying the right things, and I keep believing her, and, don't do this to me, don't give me hope in any of my public officials. But she so far is a straight shooter as they come, and her partners, again, her goodwill in our realm is pretty high, her coinage in terms of her credibility. And she called it, I think, spot on for what happened. So thank goodness for that. Again, result aside, I wanted the process to at least be relatively bulletproof, and it was.
With that, we will be back again next week with a short news segment. And until then, stay cyber safe.
Adios.